and welcome to episode number 22 of On The Sidelines. My name is Benedict Rhodes,
And I'm Matthew Liam Bruni.
and apologies for some technical difficulties we're having here today. My Wi-Fi, my laptop's not working perfectly, so I'm on my phone today, as you can probably see how dark my face looks at the moment, and a slightly different audio, but yeah, hopefully it's just a temporary problem, but still some great sports content for you today, and that's what we're getting to. And first of all, Matthew, how are you doing?
I'm good. I've been doing good. Of course, this is actually our first On the Sidelines episode of the new year. So, we have done a video, of course, this year. Go check it out. Sorry, on our YouTube page. But yeah, I guess Happy New Year to you, and hope everything's going well for you as well. But for me, I guess school started up, and that's just getting used to a new routine again. After being off for a month, but yeah, I think everything's been going well. What about you?
Yeah, same here. My school started this week, as you mentioned, first on the sidelines video of this series anyway, in 2021. So always excited for that, and I guess we'll just jump straight into it.
Yeah, so as we've been doing the past couple weeks, we've been discussing the NFL season closing out and going into the playoffs. So now we're just past the divisional round. Now just down to four teams. Just to recap for those who didn't watch any games, of course, and from the AFC side, the Bills beat the Ravens, and the Chiefs beat the Chiefs beat the Cleveland Browns. And then on the NFC side, the Packers beat the Rams, and while the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Saints. I guess I'll ask you, Ben, out of these four games from the weekend, which one would you say was the biggest one?
Um, in terms of purely in terms of the result, I guess I want to say the Bucks being the Saints. I think. Um, one thing when we tried to record this video last week, but as a preview, one thing I said was nobody's beaten Tom Brady before three times in one season. So going into that game, that was something I had on my mind, and that held up. Tom Brady got his revenge, I guess, on Drew Brees and the Saints, and they won that game fairly comfortably, I guess, in the end. Maybe I think the score was probably a fair reflection of the game. In terms of who's better, but yeah, I'd say that in terms of result, I think that was probably the biggest result of the weekend. Most, I don't want to say unexpected, but probably I guess maybe the most unexpected win of the four.
Yeah, for me, I think that was one of the clear choices to go with for this from this past weekend. But I guess for me, the second game I would say is the Bills and Ravens on Saturday night. I think for me, going into that game, I was expecting a shootout with, of course, with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen at quarterbacks for both sides. Um, Definitely not the game I was expecting from the Ravens, only essentially just scoring a field goal in this game, and losing 17-3 against Buffalo. Um, and also, I think their defense did, hang in that game. Of course, if it wasn't for that pick six, I think it was in the third quarter or something that the Ravens gave up to Buffalo. I think it was a 101-yard interception or return for a touchdown, I should say. So I think if it wasn't for that, I think obviously this game would have been closer than 17-3. But I just think just overall the Ravens definitely looked terrible that night. I know Lamar went down in the fourth quarter, which was pretty unfortunate for the Ravens, or going into the fourth quarter, I should say. So I think that definitely gave them a lot less of a chance of winning this game, and Buffalo came out in the end.
Yeah, I think Buffalo definitely deserved to win that game. This looks like the better team on that. You mentioned the pick six, 101 yards, amazing play, or definitely entertaining play. Um, and I think that was kind of just the way the night went for Baltimore. I think it summed up in 20 seconds of football. Right? Like it was all looked so promising. They were getting close to scoring a touchdown, and then the Bills just returned it, and then that was kind of a good way of summarizing the whole game, really.
Yeah, even I think also the home field advantage really helped for them. They've had ever since the wild card game, only got a chance to host two playoff games this playoffs, but of course with the Colts game, were able to host, I think, under 7,000 fans, if I'm not wrong. So I think beating the Colts and the Ravens really, like, having fans there in the stadium, in the home stadium, really helped out I think. I mean, it sounded like it was like a 70,000 capacity on Saturday night, which was crazy because I mean, yeah, I think that's just shows that um, Bills fans are probably one of the best in the NFL, I would say, and I think it showed on that night.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think we already know Bills Mafia is next level in terms of the fans. It's probably the elite group of NFL fans, and they definitely showed it in that game. Like as you mentioned, it sounded like there was 100,000 people in that stadium, even though there's I think 7,000. That's the loudest 7,000 fans you're ever going to hear, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I guess also the other two games we didn't mention were the was Saturday afternoon when the Packers beat the Rams. I mean, I think this is a pretty obvious answer, but would you say this was not? I mean, this was pretty expected, I should say, right?
Yeah, I think this was the game. If you're a betting man, I think that's the game you're going to put all your money on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I think to win that game. Um, I mean, no disrespect to the Rams, of course. They beat the Seahawks and they look like a good team as well towards the end of the season, I guess. But I think there's only going to be one winner in that game, and it was the Packers who ended up winning, of course.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was impressed with the Rams and how they looked against the Seahawks during the wild card weekend. But I mean, I think the storyline going into this game was the number one offense versus the number one defense, and definitely didn't look like the number one defense from the Rams side. Of course, because Aaron Rodgers is just one of the best in the NFL, and I think definitely deserves the MVP this year. And that's that was the game changer on Saturday. But yeah, I think of course the Packers, which will get into their NFC Championship matchup, go into a tougher game, I would say, in facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But yeah, it was. I think it was pretty expected from the Packers. Um, and also the fourth game we didn't discuss was the Chiefs and Browns. Pretty close, I would say. I mean, of course, I think the Kansas City injury changed everything. Which I mean, personally, for me, I thought it gave the Chiefs like I think the Chiefs had a chance to lose that game. Of course, it really came down to the fourth quarter, and their quarterback Chad Henne, I think his name is, coming in clutch and becoming a superstar for Kansas City. But what did you think about this the injury from Mahomes and this game overall?
Yeah, we'll kind of touch on the injury in a bit more detail in a little bit, but obviously, if you're a Chiefs fan, that was a scary a scary moment. Um, I think also we'll get to it soon, but I think if this was a regular season game, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is playing this weekend. Um, and one thing I've kind of wondered is could anyone have even named the Chiefs' backup quarterback before he came into the game? I don't think so. I certainly couldn't. It goes to show how important Patrick Mahomes is to that team, and he's obviously one of the best players in the league. Um, so I think a lot of their chances this weekend will depend on that, his availability, as we'll get to, as I keep saying. Um, and last week could have ended very badly for the Chiefs as well. Had what's his name, Chad Henne, um, uh, not come up with a couple of clutch plays and look decent. Obviously not Patrick Mahomes level, um, but did a good enough job to close out a victory anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that 4th and 1 or fourth and inches conversion in the leading, I think it was after the 2-minute warning to clinch the game for the Chiefs. I think that was obviously a huge moment, and just I think that really. I mean, obviously he's not as good as Patrick Mahomes. No one can doubt that. But I think that was just uh, a good thing for the Chiefs, and I think lucky too, because if it wasn't for that, I mean, the Browns could have had a chance to take over on downs, and I mean, they could have had a chance to win that game, but it's the Browns, so you never know. I mean, obviously we won't know now because we didn't get to see it happen. But yeah, I mean, I mean, Chiefs were lucky to get all that game, but as you mentioned, if Mahomes, I mean, or I should say, if Mahomes doesn't play this weekend, it will definitely be tougher for them to face to beat the Bills.
Yeah, I guess we might as well move on to that conversation right now. Then Bills versus Chiefs coming up this weekend. Um, as we kind of already talked about, Patrick Mahomes suffered concussion in the last game, and but apparently returned to practice today, which is Wednesday, the 20th. How much do you think his availability affects the winner of this game?
I think it really affects the winner. I think the Bills have. I mean, although they have looked rusty against the Colts and the Ravens, I guess a little bit in their past couple playoff games. I think that would be a game changer for the game if Patrick Mahomes doesn't play. I know people talk about going through concussion protocol takes longer than a week. Of course, that's the timeline that we're talking about, which is only 5 days away now until the AFC Championship game. But I mean, if Mahomes doesn't play, like I said, I think it um, doesn't give KC a chance to go back to the Super Bowl. And with the way Buffalo and with Josh Allen, how Diggs have both of them been connecting, I think that would be a big element in that game against Kansas City. And if Mahomes doesn't play, it will definitely not give them a chance to win.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think if Patrick Mahomes doesn't play, I wouldn't even give the Chiefs a chance probably. I think everything they do kind of revolves around him. As you mentioned, the Bills have looked really good this year with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. So, yeah, I think if Mahomes is 100%, obviously they have a chance. Obviously, they'll be probably the favorites, but even if he's less than 100%, I think that might be enough to give the Bills the advantage and give them a chance to get back to their first Super Bowl since the early 90s, and they lost 4 in a row. Obviously, they want to have a different result this time, of course.
Yeah, I think the sound was a little bit low there, but that's okay. I think, yeah, as you mentioned, I think it would be definitely a challenge for Mahomes or for I should say for Kansas City to win if they don't have Mahomes in that game. But I mean, of course, they do have a lot of offensive powers, and I guess, yeah, I think it's just a waiting game now. We'll have to see what happens.
And then moving on to the NFC, I guess. I'm really looking forward to this game. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league at the moment, Aaron Rodgers, against I'd argue is the best of all time, Tom Brady. What do you make of this quarterback matchup in the NFC title game?
Yeah, I think. I mean, for me, this is it's a tough. I mean, both quarterbacks I think are playing probably the best. I mean, I would say for Aaron Rodgers, he's been probably playing the best football of his career this year. I think for Tom Brady, I mean, we knew going into this year that he was being built into a new system with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, he has a lot of offensive weapons like Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, who the Tampa Bay Bucks added in the offseason. But I think when it comes to the quarterback situation, I mean, I'll say this year, Aaron Rodgers is. I think he would be better this year than Tom Brady, but I think overall, like when you're talking about their entire career, I would obviously say Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. We've been talking for a while now about how Aaron Rodgers is probably the MVP this year. He's had an amazing season, but the one question that's on everyone's mind is, does Aaron Rodgers need to win the Super Bowl this year to be considered, among the elites of the best ever? Does he need a second Super Bowl ring, do you think?
I mean, I think he does. I know I can't remember the year right now when the Packers won the last Super Bowl. But I think if he wants to grow off his great career that he's had in the NFL, I think winning a second Super Bowl would definitely put him up there in one of the greatest ever. Obviously, we wouldn't say the greatest ever because I think Brady's taken that status, but I think he's definitely up there in regards to being one of the best QBs in the NFL. But yeah, like I said, just by the year he's had in the MVP caliber season, I think if he can win this Super Bowl, I think that would definitely make him one of the best.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think same thing can be said, of course, for Drew Brees as well. He's probably one Super Bowl away from being considered one of the best ever. As you mentioned, you might have seen him play his last NFL game already. I don't know if I'm ready to put him in the same category, either of them in the same category as like Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning. these are like the best of the best. I'm not sure if they're in that sort of conversation yet, but definitely getting close to that. And I think if Aaron Rodgers does win a second Super Bowl, I would agree, or would say rather that he is in that group. It kind of going the other way. If Patrick Mahomes is to get a second Super Bowl this year, let's say they beat the Bills and they win against the NFC champions in the Super Bowl, is he one of the best of all time? I mean, it's early in his career, but 2 Super Bowls in I think 3 seasons as a full time quarterback. He's obviously could have another decade in the NFL if he stays healthy. Would you be ready to start putting him in that sort of second tier of elite quarterbacks of all time?
For Mahomes, I think it's. I mean, what is this? I think it's his third year in the NFL.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's had a young career so far, but um, I think right now would be too early to tell if he'd be one of the best. I mean, obviously, um, we would have to see how he progresses, and if he continues this Kansas City dynasty that people think are going to happen if he wins a second Super Bowl. Um, but I mean, yeah, I think if he like I said, it's too early to tell in his young career, but if he can continue this kind of stature in his years to come, I think he would definitely be put in the conversation.
Um, and I know we both made brackets before these playoffs started. That's actually our last video. If you want to go and check that out. Um, I'm pretty sure this is my exact bracket, if I'm not mistaken. These 4. Um, so yours is slightly different. You had the Saints beating the Bucks, I think. But who would you say is your sort of predictions, I guess, for the next the last 3 games of the season?
Um, yeah, for me, um, I would say for the Packers and Bucks, I'm going to say the Packers. I think with the year Rodgers has had, as we've talked about a lot, his MVP season. I think that will, he'll be a game changer, and especially considering that Green Bay has home field advantage on Sunday, of course, because they have the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. But I think the Packers win on Sunday afternoon against the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think it'll be pretty close. In the AFC side, I think obviously it all depends on if Mahomes is playing or not. But I think if Mahomes does play, I think the Chiefs would win, but in a close game. I would say if the Chiefs don't have Mahomes on Sunday, I think that the Bills would actually win the game. But of course, as I mentioned, it would be pretty close as well. Um, and I guess if my pretend Super Bowl matchup was the Bills and Packers, which is pretty tough to pick actually, now to think of it. I think I would give the edge to the Packers for now, but obviously it can all change with the results from this weekend.
I think I would go with, assuming that everyone's healthy and everyone's ready to go. I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs beating the Bills. NFC is a bit harder to predict, I think. I think I said Bucks before, but I think the Packers are probably a better team. I would just like to see the Bucks play the Bills just for the Tom Brady rematch. Um, so I'm going to go for a Packers and Chiefs Super Bowl. I think with if everyone's healthy and going, I want to say that's actually the hardest game to predict of those 3 probably. I'll say Chiefs, but not by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, would love to see a Mahomes Rodgers matchup. Of course, both of them would be going for their second Super Bowls in their careers, which would be a big game. Um, I think also, I mean, obviously, like we mentioned, it all depends on how Mahomes is doing, but obviously, yeah, I think it depends on that and what happens with if Rodgers finally um, performs well. Like, I mean, obviously the last year he didn't perform well in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, so I guess we'll have to see what he does against the Niners sorry, not the Niners, the Tampa Bay Bucks this weekend. And yeah, we'll just have to see from there, I guess.
Anything else on the NFL, or do you want to move on to the NHL?
I think I'm good with NFL. We can move on to the NHL.
Uh, I guess with that in mind, then the North Division has been pretty exciting so far. I think there's the Canada Division, if you want to call it that instead. Has been really good so far. What have you made of the first week or so of that division?
Yeah, I mean, as a Canadian hockey fan, I've definitely enjoyed the North Division. I think it's been pretty competitive so far. I mean, obviously, it's only been a week of this season, but I think all the games have been in the Canadian division been exciting, and definitely has lived up to the hype. Um, but yeah, I think right now, I guess if we're talking about a specific team, like maybe like the Leafs, for example, they have had good games against one against Ottawa, and then of course another against Montreal, and then they laid an egg in that on that Friday night game against the Sens. But and of course, actually, right now they're facing the Oilers right now. Just to update you, it's 1-1, but obviously the score is going to change and you'll see the final score once this is uploaded. But having said that, I think Leafs have been good. I think we've expected them to be good in this division. And also Montreal too has been pretty good as well, sweeping Edmonton in their two-game series over the weekend, and I think it was last night too, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of competition, and I can't wait for it to continue.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been really good so far. You mentioned the Leafs have looked really good. The Canadians have looked really good. I think those are probably early stages of the course, but I think those are probably the two teams to look out for come the end of the season. If everything goes the way they're going. Well, circling back to the Leafs a little bit, one person I've been really pleased to see the way he's been playing is Joe Thornton. I think he's been really good offensively and defensively. He's been having a um, pretty good start to this season. The oldest player in the NHL, I believe. I think uh, on Sportsnet or wherever they're showing the game against the first game against the Senators, said his first career goal against the Senators came before anyone on the Senators' top line was born. For the context of just how old this guy is, he's born in the 70s, and Tim Stützle was born in 2002, I believe. So he's definitely one of the older players in the NHL, and showing he still has what it takes, I think, to play at this at this level.
Yeah, I was kind of skeptical actually about the Joe Thornton trade, like when it actually happened. Like I was like if this was worried if this was actually going to work out or not. But as you mentioned, it has so far. It seems like, and I think Joe Thornton's a great piece for this team. And of course, obviously, you can't go wrong with Matthews, Martiner, and Tavares. Um, I mean, I don't think they've had like a big any sort of big game yet. But I mean, of course, that can change in the next couple of weeks or a month, whenever. But yeah, as you mentioned, I think Joe Thornton's been impressive so far, and I think it will definitely lift the Leafs, and we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. One issue, of course, with the NHL coming back that we've kind of honestly, I don't want to say expected, but there's obviously always a risk when the season came back was the possibility of COVID-related postponements rather. We've had a couple of those today and this week. Do you want to kind of run through those quickly?
Yeah, so I mean, this one of the incidents happened before the game, or sorry, before the season, with the Dallas Stars. I think they had like 17 COVID cases, and they have had their first four games postponed. Two against Tampa and two, I think it was Florida, if I'm not wrong. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously that was a concern to start the season, and I don't think anyone really expected it to come that early in the year. But of course, I think the Stars are going to start finally playing on Friday against Nashville. So I mean, they'll finally be able to come back. But I think that whole situation is just a lesson for the NHL. To that this virus is. I mean, it's still out there, obviously, and I think you have to. I think you just basically have to be careful. And then also we have another situation just in the past couple of days or so with the Hurricanes, or should I say in the past day, with Carolina. Um, I think they put four players on the COVID list, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, I guess like similar to the Stars, like I think, and everyone else in the league, I should say, just have to be very cautious and not break any rules and just because I mean I don't think they would want to have a halt in the season for any kind of reason. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Last thing I think we want is to go back to the bubbles or the hub cities. I think obviously it worked out last time for the NHL, but I think they obviously want to avoid that again.
yeah,
Especially with the whole regular season left to play still. I think last time they were lucky they only had a couple games in the playoffs. So um, I think if a bubble situation, if it gets to the level of seriousness where they need a bubble, I think they might just end up canceling the season. But hopefully we don't get there. Hopefully um, teams see this sort of as a lesson learned and kind of ramp up their COVID protocols because I think that's the last thing anyone wants to see is hockey taken away again.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we definitely don't want to go back to any kind of situation we saw in March, but of course we know a lot more about COVID now than we did in March. Um, but yeah, I think I mean, hopefully we don't see another situation like this. I mean, obviously people expected games to be postponed, and these kind of situations to happen, and also like what we've been seeing in the NBA with like the Washington Wizards, for example, who've had I think like five straight postponed games. So obviously, you know, COVID, like I said, is still out there, and just everybody has to be vigilant and careful.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of bubbles as well, of course, the NWHL is back this week. Their season starts on Saturday, I believe, January 23rd, in Lake Placid. They're doing their bubble there. There's sort of a really short regular season. Top four teams make the playoffs, and then sort of elimination from there until you get a winner. Um, we're definitely excited about that for the Toronto Six, the first Canadian team in the NWHL, and so the return, I guess, of professional women's hockey in Canada. That's definitely exciting, and if you don't know already, every game will be available for free live on Twitch, I'm pretty sure. So that's exciting if you want to catch some of that and support the Toronto Six in their first season in the NWHL.
Yeah, I guess I mean for me, I'll say I've not unfortunately followed the NWHL that much. I mean, I think now that there's a Toronto team going into this league, I think it will definitely be more exciting to watch. But yeah, I think it's with the way the NWHL is doing their season, just essentially 2 weeks in a bubble with their with all their six teams. I think also to airing it on national TV on finally being able to being broadcasted is a big step for them too. And I mean, obviously it's exciting. And yeah, I mean, as a hockey fan, I'll be tuning in when the Toronto Six play. Um, but yeah, it's a great it's great to see women's hockey building up like this.
Yeah, especially after the CWHL in Canada closed down. I think it was 2018 or 2019.
Yeah,
Well, I lost track of how long ago it was now because how long 2020 felt. Um, but um, yeah, glad to see it back. And I believe the final of the NWHL is going to be on either NBC or CBS. Can't remember. I don't want to say NBC.
I think it might be NBC if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so it's good to get them on national television as well, of course, instead of just on Twitch. But Twitch is definitely the place to go for a lot of regular season games starting on the 23rd.
Yeah, and yeah, can't wait for that, and we'll have to see how everything goes. And of course, we know bubbles have worked the past year, so yeah, can't wait to see that.
Especially a
Um,
smaller one like that too, just six teams instead of like 20 or whatever. Like
yeah,
it's a very small bubble, so hopefully they can get that sort of under control in a couple of days and get straight to hockey.
yeah, for sure. And I guess as part of, as in regards to the NHL, I mean, obviously, can't wait to watch more hockey. I think it's been exciting so far, as we mentioned, and obviously can't go wrong with not watching the teams south of the border. But yeah, I've been trying to watch that too a lot. But yeah, can't wait to continue to indulge in hockey.
And the World Juniors recently as well, of course. Didn't end favorably for Canada fans, of course, but yeah, always good to have tons of hockey on TV and I guess we'll move on from hockey now, I guess, and move on to our last topic, which is MLB / the Blue Jays. A lot of transactions or lack of transactions, I guess, for the Blue Jays during this offseason. It seems like they're second place to every player going off the free agent market at the moment. But they have finally got sort of a big ticket star, I guess. The Jays reportedly, anyway, on Tuesday night, signed George Springer to a 6-year, $150 million contract. What do you make of that contract, Matthew? And the Jays finally getting sort of an elite talent from free agency.
I mean, all I can say as a Jays fan is finally. I mean, we've been waiting for this for a pretty long time. But yeah, I'm happy for the Jays that they actually, went out and got a big signing. Obviously, George Springer is one of the best from free agency. And yeah, I think even the deal too. I mean, 6-year, $150 million is something I wasn't expecting the Jays to actually do. Going in that kind of range, especially I think they want to go like with 5 years, if I'm not wrong. But of course, they added a sixth year, and $25 million per year. But yeah, I think it will be worth it for the Jays, and it's definitely a great piece, in, for their growth and being a contender, perhaps a contender sooner than later. Of course, it all depends with the rest of free agency, but yeah, I think it's definitely a big step for the team.
Yeah, for sure. I believe it's the biggest free agent contract the Blue Jays have ever given out in their 40 whatever years of existence. So that's obviously exciting. And of course, as you mentioned, it's kind of like this is speeding up the rebuild even faster. Like they finally have their prospects all in MLB. They're finally getting to a playoff caliber team as we saw last year. So to now add the big free agents needed to go deep in the playoffs and maybe even win a World Series is kind of the stage we're at now, I think. And George Springer being signed is definitely sort of the elite tier free agent this year. And for the Jays to get him sort of shows they mean business and shows they want to make a run at it. So that's definitely exciting. But then on Wednesday, today on the 20th, we had another bit of news. We heard from Hazel May from Sportsnet that on Twitter that the Jays had apparently signed Michael Brantley to a 3-year deal, I believe she reported. But then a couple hours later, all of a sudden, we're hearing that the rumors were false. Whoever gave her that information wasn't true. And he's instead signed with the Astros a couple hours later, apparently. So nothing official, I don't think, yet. But sounds like he's not coming to Toronto, Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, pretty unfortunate for the Jays not to get in on him. I think it would have been another good piece for this team. But I think that just shows that. I mean, obviously, like with all the rumors going around, I think even with the rumors with George Springer with I mean, I don't have the account name right now, but the guy, putting the rumor out there that the Jays signed Springer, I think everybody was, kind of shocked and like really not expecting it to happen. And then, finally, like other MLB experts came out and tweeted in, and MLB, the official account, came out to tweet, and then it felt official. But yeah, I think it just shows that you can't, like, you have to be careful with what you say out there, I guess.
Yeah, fake news has been sort of the trend of the last couple of years. So yeah, definitely listen to the guys like Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal and that kind of crew. Definitely the ones to trust for these kind of things, I think. Although I believe one of them, I can't remember who it was, one of them also tweeted that the Jays had signed Michael Brantley. I can't remember who it was now, but like a second reputable person on Twitter had reported it, I believe. So that definitely kind of sucked for Jays fans. Like, I know, like, us too, and a lot of people on Twitter were saying, like, okay, now who gets traded from the outfield to get a pitcher, and how does this affect the rest of the roster? And then all of a sudden, like, you get pushed back a step again because now we're not trading Randall Grichuk for a starting pitcher because now we need a center fielder. So that's definitely – obviously we're still excited to get George Springer, but Michael Brantley would have been a pretty nice signing as well, of course, and not signing him after thinking we had done is a little bit disappointing, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to obviously see how the rest of this free agency goes. I think there's a lot of, I think pitching is definitely the big issue for the Jays right now, and that's something they have to get fixed in this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. And they did sign a pitcher on Wednesday night. Officially signed reliever Kirby Yates to a 1 year contract. He led MLB in saves in 2019 and was also an All Star in 2019 with the Padres, I believe. Um, I want to say, and then so that's also a huge signing for the Blue Jays who are looking to increase their bullpen. What do you sort of make of that signing?
Yeah, I think this is a good move for the team. Of course, it adds to the bullpen, the good bullpen that it was last year. Um, yeah, this is definitely another big move for the Jays. And obviously, like the Springer situation, I think it just shows that this team is growing and then that they want to be a contender now. And obviously, going off of last year's success, I mean, obviously, if it wasn't for the expanded playoffs, they wouldn't have made it. But it was still a good experimental uh, year for the team. And yeah, I think they just want to continue being successful.
Yeah, one thing you kind of alluded to there as well was that like now that the Jays have signed the top free agent, arguably of this offseason, George Springer, it kind of shows like they want to win now. They're a destination to go to now because whichever players they sign next could be the difference maker in winning a World Series or not. So definitely, I think that also not only is a good signing on the field, but also off the field. I think it sort of shows we mean business and we're ready to go. I think now they need to look at starting pitchers. I think is the next one because they do have a decent rotation. They're the number one right-handed pitching prospect in MLB, in Nate Pearson. So they're definitely going in the right direction. I think with pitching as well. I think now it's just a matter of sort of finalizing that rotation behind Pearson, Ryu, and all the other guys they have in there.
Yeah, can't. I mean, obviously, it's an exciting team, and yeah, we can't wait to see what they do this year. And I think I speak for all Jays fans when I say spring training can't come soon enough now. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, I guess anything else on MLB before we wrap up?
Well, just one more thing, I guess, on the Jays is like I kind of mentioned earlier, like they've been second place on a lot of these signings. Like the frustrating one, I think, is DJ LeMahieu. Reportedly, the Blue Jays offered him a 5 year contract for 90 million or something, and they ended up signing for the same money with the Yankees for 6 years, so less money per year for an extra year, essentially. So could the Blue Jays have offered an extra year and maybe a little bit more money to sweeten the pot? Probably. Did they know? Which could end up being a good thing in the long run. Don't know how he's going to play, obviously. Um, but yeah, I think the Jays need to start coming first in some of these negotiations in a second.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that was a lot of second places this past off season, as you mentioned. But yeah, we'll have to hopefully it improves. Um, but yeah, I guess yeah, I guess anything else before you go?
No, I guess we can wrap it up. Sorry again for the technical difficulties I've had tonight. Unfortunately, we're using my phone instead of the laptop, and uh, as you can probably tell, I guess the audio is a bit low. I'm hearing from Matthew, so apologies for that. I will try and get this sorted out sooner rather than later. But other than that, I think I'm good, Matthew.
All right. With that being said, thank you guys for watching episode 22. My name is Matthew Limberti,
My name is Benedict Rhodes.
and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.